The Super Speedway Podcast is a Dream Bigger media production. For news, photos, show notes, and information about advertising on the podcast, visit www.thesuperspeedway.com.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Super Speedway.
Welcome to episode 83 of the Super Speedway Podcast, recorded Thursday, October 18th, 2018. I'm your host, Eric Young. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. James, that whole fade-out thing is automatic, and I don't know, it just cut off at the end. I don't know what that was all about.
Yeah, that caught me off guard. One, there was no sound effect again this week. I was all out of whack when that whole thing started.
Yeah,
but we are doing this at a weird time. It's a different day of the week. It's a different time of the day. So I have a feeling we're just gonna have to patchwork our way through this entire podcast.
Yeah, everything is different. Skype's been being stupid already tonight, but right now sounds good. I'm solo dad here at home tonight, so I have the boys. They're in the other room watching cartoons, so there's a small chance I'll get interrupted by them or the dog barking or something. So could be fun.
Right? Yep.
Let's
see how it goes.
A little less predictable than Talladega was this weekend, right?
Yeah, and you would think that would be the other way around.
Exactly.
But yeah, that was a really nice segue. I just wanted to point that out.
There you go. So it's the 1000bulbs.com 500 at Talladega Super Speedway. Add that, which I think we did last week, to the list of dumb race names this season. It's I was all excited about Talladega. Couldn't wait for some excitement. We got a little bit of it on Saturday with the truck race, and then Sunday came and the old Stewart-Haas boys kind of stunk up the show and ruined the thing, don't you think?
I feel like we should have known after qualifying that this had the potential to be a stink show. And boy, was that. Do you recall a race being so thoroughly dominated by a team? The only thing I can think of is when Joe Gibbs Racing tried this with the Daytona 500 a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite work out for him, but this was just a butt whooping.
Well, before we talk about the winner, which at least was a pleasant surprise, let me get on my soapbox for a second and say, NASCAR, please, I know things are changing next year. We're going to do some different stuff. Give us the ride height rule back. These teams are beating themselves with this stupid ride height rule, trying to lower those things as close to the ground as possible. We've got parts breaking because they're bouncing off the track. Like, come on. This is the lug nut thing again. These guys cannot police themselves well enough. NASCAR, step in, give us the ride heights back, and let's have some good racing at restrictor plates once again, because this sucks.
Yeah, that I couldn't believe it. Like,
it wasn't all Stewart-Haas. I mean, Stewart-Haas stunk it up because everybody let him do it, but because of this package, handling was such a factor at Talladega, and handling's great, but we deal with handling every week of the year. Let's have one race we don't have to worry about and just let these guys drive. Yeah,
and if this was an elimination race, I think it
would have been different.
And I think these guys approach this race at this point now. Now this is the second year they've taken it out of the elimination spot.
Yeah,
they just try to survive.
Yep.
They just try to get through it, and I think that was a little bit on display. There was no. I guess the sense of urgency just wasn't there like you would typically see at Talladega. But we've seen Talladega races be like this before, though, where these guys are just kind of
not like this, though.
No, this was a little bit different. This was a thorough domination by one team.
It wasn't even just that. It was, Stewart-Haas ruined the front of the race, but usually at Talladega, at least there's some good racing in the back of the pack, and we had a little bit of pack racing at a couple points, but really the racing was not good.
Yeah,
and I had everything to do with handling because you couldn't run 3 wide.
Yeah,
10 laps into a run, and I'm sorry, that's just not the way Talladega is supposed to be.
No, there should be lines moving. Talladega is at its best when you've got 2 or 3 lines. One line's out front, and that second line's coming, and eventually they get to each other, and things start happening.
Right, and don't get me wrong, I'm one of those fans. I want to see a wreck, but that's not why I'm upset about this race. I'm not upset about this race because there was no big wreck. I'm upset about this race because the racing stunk. If you're not going to have a wreck, let's at least have good racing the whole time.
Well, yeah, Talladega is one of the races. I don't mind if we have stinkers from now and again.
Yeah,
but Talladega is one of the races during the year. Yeah, it shouldn't be a stinker. Like, people are tuning in because it's Talladega, and you got to have a good show.
Yeah.
There's just a handful of these races. Daytona's another one. You got to have good racing at Bristol. But yeah, this should be one of the crown jewel highlights of the season. Like you said, it was kind of a dud.
Yeah.
But
But
it's gonna happen.
it wasn't a dud for Eric Almirola,
Yes.
who 5 minutes into the podcast we finally mentioned is the winner at
Yeah.
Talladega, gets his second career win, his first win of the year, finally gets redemption there for Stuart Haas. Finally becomes one of the 4 winners. All 4 drivers have won this season. We're going to talk more about Stuart Haas later, but I mean, long time coming for this. I think both you and I predicted this would happen this season, and I'm surprised neither of us picked him last week because he was a good pick for this race.
Yeah, he's a good restrictor plate pick, and yeah, it's just he's been good before. I don't think he was the best of the Stewart Haas cars.
No, definitely not.
It didn't matter. They were all. I mean, so
yeah,
if
I mean, exactly. He was the worst.
Yeah.
He ran 4th.
Yeah, he ran 4th for the majority of the race, but yeah,
I would argue he is probably the 3rd best because I think Kurt was the best and Harvick was a close second.
Yeah,
but
and Boyer, yeah, it was like
they were all. Good.
I mean, it didn't matter. Yeah, they all could have probably done what they did.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is his first wire-to-wire win, I guess you would call it, or maybe that's not right. But his only other win was a rain-shortened Daytona. Right. So this is his first actual checkered flag that he's seen in the Cup Series. Bracing for it. So
right, and I think really what cost Kurt the win was that Kurt led so much of that last stage or last segment and ran out of fuel. I mean, Kurt runs out and Eric gets the win. So
he did have a rightful gripe with NASCAR about some of the calls there late, but I don't think that's what lost him the race at the end of the day. Overall, I just think that's the way it played out.
Okay, so I honestly have all I've heard is that Kurt complained about when the caution was thrown and complained about the caution at the end. So I did not hear any of the audio from Kurt at all. So or read anything on it or whatever. I don't know exactly what he said. So I guess before I make my opinion on it, fill me in, James. What did he say?
Well, he just was talking about you basically covered it there. Is the timing of the caution. He felt like it should have been a little bit different.
Was he did I hear correctly that he was upset that they ran an extra lap under caution too?
Yeah, that was part of it too. Yep, that's another part of it. So he was just he just felt like it sucked the extra fuel that he needed. Basically, I mean that's the gist I'm getting out of what he said.
But here's the thing: every single car on the track ran the same caution laps. Every single car on the track dealt with caution flying at the time it did, or the lack of caution flying at the end. Everybody dealt with the same thing. I don't feel like the deck was stacked against Kurt Busch. That's the way it worked out in this circumstance. This is not unprecedented for NASCAR to let a race play out when a crash happens at the back of the field.
Yeah, and I know some of the media members and fans were upset too because of the way the Truck Series race played out. It was kind of a similar call. The NASCAR called it differently a little bit both ways, but
NASCAR,
I don't know.
I will give credit. NASCAR has been very an organization that's been as inconsistent as NASCAR has. NASCAR is incredibly consistent when wheels get off the ground.
Yep.
And that's what happened with Noah Gragson. The wheels got off the ground on the truck. They threw the caution immediately when that truck got off the ground. Yep. And there were no wheels off the ground in the wreck on Sunday. So I'm good with the call that they made.
Yeah, race that sucker to the finish line.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we want to see is a race to the finish. And I'm still a proponent of, okay, throw that caution in that case. You throw the caution any other time, but don't end under caution. Do the ARCA thing and run one lap.
Yeah.
So, but this is the compromise to that. Nobody was in any danger. The cars weren't racing back through there at speed. They were out of the way or rolling still after the crash. It was not a danger situation. So for Kurt to complain, it's just because the circumstances didn't go his direction.
Well, and he's a Busch, so I mean that's what he's gonna. I'm just kidding.
No, it's true though. It is true.
I'm throwing a bone out there for the fans. Sorry guys, it's all good. No, he's fine. But just back to Almirola, just really quick, just to highlight again his career year he's been having. By far his best average finish, and now he's he's broken my bracket. I know he's probably busted yours at this point.
I don't remember what mine is.
Yeah, I didn't have him getting into the round of 12, so now he is into the round of 8. By far now, I mean, he was having his best year of his career, but now it's solidified with the point standings too. He's racing for a championship.
Yeah,
and
I also had him out of the round of 12.
I think all 4 Stuart Haas cars are probably going to get through to the round of 8. It's good. It's looking that way.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. I don't know. Well, I think we're going to probably talk about points a little bit later, but
Yeah, we're getting there. We're almost there.
just a kudos to that whole team. Just season overall they've been having. He only led 1 lap on the day, but it doesn't matter. That's Talladega. You're going to have that.
Yeah, that don't matter. All that matters is who takes a checkered flag home.
Exactly.
So, and especially at a restrictor plate track, nobody cares about lap sled. And really, lap sled means nothing anymore. You don't get points for it, so who cares?
Right. Exactly.
Just kind of looking down the list, see who had good days, bad days. It's Talladega, so, everything's kind of up in the air, but Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott. Alex Bowman finishes 33rd, Chase Elliott 31st. Just kind of looking at Chase drivers here, playoff drivers.
Yeah, and it didn't matter. Chase Elliott, he has the ultimate mulligan, so it didn't matter.
Right.
He was really good.
Ryan Blaney 29th, Kevin Harvick 28th, Brad Keselowski 27th, Kyle Busch 26th. Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney both needed good days, and they did not get those.
Yeah, I didn't get him. Harvick, he has a sneaky bad 28th. I mean, he had a good day.
Yeah, exactly.
Still earned 27 points, and he is virtually locked in to the round of 8.
Yep.
So he's fine too. But yeah, Blaney, Keselowski. But yeah, Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. being down there. Kyle's fine. Martin's on the bubble though.
Yeah, Martin's close.
Yep. Not a good day for Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah, not at all.
He only earned 14 points on the day, and that's not the type of day he wants to have.
The other one who had a bad day, Kyle Larson cuts down a tire, spins, manages to get back up and have an okay finish.
Yeah.
And then gets slapped with the old L1 penalty.
Yep.
And that drops him to 36 points out of the playoffs. And next round.
We get to play my favorite game.
What's that?
Cross them off. We crossing off.
Yeah, no kidding. Well,
so last week
let's talk about this penalty real quick first.
Yeah, let's do it. Yep.
So, let's do it. First of all, let me find it here. Kyle Larson gets a L1 penalty. Damaged vehicle policy, mechanical repair. Basically, I don't know. Permitted to have original body parts removed, rematched in an original location. I don't know. Whatever. They didn't repair the car right. So Kyle Larson gets the L1 penalty, loses 10 points. That's the big deal. Eric Almirola also got a penalty for lug nuts, but just
a financial penalty.
$10,000 fine. So So Larson's bad day gets worse. And now,
they are appealing.
Yep, they are appealing.
We will, as of tonight, we don't have a resolution to appeal, but tomorrow, Friday, NASCAR will announce. I think at 9 a.m. they should have it all tidied up.
I can't imagine there's any chance they're going to get
No,
that
it's
one
going to
overturned.
stay. They're not going to overturn that. No.
So go ahead. Let's talk about points, James. You were heading there, so let's talk about them. Go for it.
Yeah, cross them off. Kyle Larson. I hate it.
Yep.
But I think he hasn't won yet this year. And as much as I hate to say it, I don't think he's going to win this race at Kansas.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
I don't see it.
So here's what we got right now. We've been doing kind of the 4 around the bubble. So Joey Logano's running 5th right now, 39 points to the good. Kurt Busch is 30 points to the good in 6th. Clint Boyer 21 points to the good in 7th. Martin Truex Jr. 18 points to the good in 8th. And then outside looking in, Brad Keselowski is 18 points out in 9th. Ryan Blaney 10th, 22 points out. Kyle Larson 36 points out in 11th. And Alex Bowman 68 points out in 12th. James, do they stay like this, or does somebody shuffle?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that one. I think. I only one I think is making it through is Keselowski. That's the only way.
That's what was that your dog?
Yeah, Walter. He finally made his appearance on the podcast.
He beat Bella. I thought for sure Bella would be barking tonight.
Yep, he finally did.
So I'm with you. I think Brad Keselowski gets in. I feel like Truex gets bumped out, but he's going to come out and he's going to win this weekend. So,
well, he's going to be good. He's going to be back. All he really has to do is just kind of just stay out of trouble because he's going to be fast. If he's hanging around the top 5 all day, just tell him where Keselowski is and he'll be fine.
Brad's just so good at getting in on these races, like sneaking into these things.
Isn't it crazy how it flip-flopped last, Boyer barely sneaks in and Larson barely sneaks in. Now we've got Truex, and you and I both have been saying all year that one of these big 3 is not going to make it.
Yep.
And maybe this is the opportunity. I agree with you. Brad Keselowski is so good when it's all on the line.
Yeah.
And he's been really good the last few weeks of this season. Boy, 18 points is a long way to go though.
Yeah.
Especially when
I'd really be surprised to see Truex fall at this point. I think he's going to fall in the next round.
He's going to be. I'd like to say Keselowski's going to get those stage points on him, but Martin's probably going to hold serve on him.
You think Kurt, Joey, they're safe, right?
Joey's safe, Kurt's safe. They're going to have speed. Boyer's going to have speed.
Right.
Unless something catastrophic happens.
Yeah, I think Truex and Boyer are the ones who got to worry, because really what it's going to come down to, I think, is Truex is going to be racing Boyer, because they're going to be hoping that one of those four guys behind him doesn't get a win.
Yep.
But I don't think they're going. I don't think any of those guys are going to.
Yeah, and really for Larson and Bowman, I guess you could say, the pressure's really off for those guys. You just got to win. I mean, going into this weekend, it's what you got to do. You got to win the race. Same for Blaney. Blaney's probably in the same boat. Got to win the race. You just got to. That's the only thing that's going to get him into the next round. And it would be ironic because of how Larson's season ended a year ago at Kansas.
Right.
One of the title favorites, knocked out, didn't even make it to the round of 8. And now he's got a chance to maybe redeem himself. That would be a heck of a story. If he can sneak in the way he did, the way he got into the round of 12, and then if he can do it again to the round of 8, that would be pretty cool.
So I saw a post on Jeff Gluck's Facebook page Sunday, or I think it was Sunday night, and it was the same thing I was thinking. It was great to see it. Was Larson? Or no, it was when the penalty was announced. That's what it was. So the penalty was announced, and they're like, "When does his contract with Chip Ganassi run out again?" Man, I feel like he's snake bitten with that team.
Yeah,
I tell you, man. I know we think we know how all this is going to go and all this shakes out as far as silly season. And believe it or not, guys, we have no silly season rumors this week.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're tidied up on silly season right now. We're all caught up.
Our silly season section of the show notes is blank, but I would just be thrilled to see Larson go to that 41 car.
Yeah,
holy cow, man, that would be great.
Yeah, I would love to see him in a Stewart-Haas.
That would be scary. Put him in a Stewart-Haas car. I'd love to see him race for Stewart.
Yeah, I would too. And they're kind of tight.
Right.
I mean, they both have the dirt track roots. That's the guy I've always wanted to drive the 14 car when Tony retired.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't happen. And Larson's been pretty loyal to Chip, but Larson's also been voicing some frustrations lately.
I think it's time for Larson to stop being so loyal.
Yeah, I mean, if I were him,
I'll tell you what. Even this, James, even if it's not Chip Ganassi racing, it's just time, man. When you struggle like this, when you're that good but that bad, and not able to seal a deal, this is the time when you start looking for something. This is the time for somebody like Denny Hamlin to start looking for something. Although I don't see that happening.
No, Denny's. Yeah.
These guys, when you start having those issues, you need to get out of there. I mean, that's what Matt Kenseth did at Roush. That's what Carl Edwards did.
Joey Logano is one of the great examples of a young driver making a switch when it was right.
Yeah,
he was at Gibbs and it just wasn't working out.
I can't think of anybody off the top of my head right now because I wasn't prepared to have this discussion. But, there's been plenty of drivers that have petered out at places and never taken that jump, never gone anywhere else when they still had, had something to offer. And never got the chance to do it. So I don't know.
Yeah, you think somebody like Mark Martin back in the day would have been something interesting if he would have not been so loyal to Roush, maybe, and he could have jumped to a Hendrick or something like that just to see. And you saw what he did. Late eventually he did.
Too late.
Yeah, very late in his career, and he was pretty dang good.
Yeah,
with that Hendrick equipment for one season.
Heck, he was getting the Michael Waltrip stuff too.
Right. Yeah, he was fast for He was fast all the way up into his 50s. It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, there's never been a driver, Larson. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's probably one of the most talented. Can you imagine next year could be totally different with some of the rules package changes and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
But can you imagine if he was on that Stewart-Haas team this year, what could have been? I mean, you think Harvick's been good, but
oh, kidding.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a what if that unfortunately we just I don't know if we'll ever find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now's the time, like you said. I agree with you.
Right. All right. Anything else to talk about this race?
No, I think we can put Talladega to bed. I'm kind of sad. It's
Thank
a short.
God, I just wanted to be done after the way it was.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
It's done.
We'll move on to New Talladega, aka Kansas.
Yeah.
All right, before we get to talking about Kansas, because we don't have a whole lot to talk about tonight, I wanted to throw this out there. I saw this question. I don't remember where I saw this question. I saw an article, I believe. And let me see did I bookmark it still? I don't know what happened to it. Anyway, I think it was on NASCAR.com. The article asked, is Stewart Haas, they didn't say the greatest, but one of the greatest NASCAR teams of all time. And I thought that would be a real good discussion point for us. I have my opinions on it, but James, what do you think on that? I know you pulled a little bit of statistics for this.
I did pull some. I just wanted to see the numbers just to kind of gauge what they're doing compared to some other teams, and they're fairly new compared to everybody else. But just to give you some numbers off the stat sheet, 2 championships already. They've been around 10 years, so they're hitting 20% on championships. Actually, better than that if they can win this year. It would be 3 in 10 years. They have 50 wins, which that actually kind of shocked me. I thought they were closer to 40.
Yeah.
And the year that they've had this year, all 4 drivers winning a race. I don't recall that happening since probably the heyday of Hendrick. I can't recall all 4 drivers getting a win. Maybe Gibbs recently. Even then, I don't think
Gibbs has done it. I don't think anybody's done it.
Well, when Gibbs had Edwards, but even then, that's when Kenseth was struggling too. So yeah, all 4 Stewart Haas cars getting wins. I can actually look that up right now. Yeah, why did I do that? Yeah, 2016 and 2017. Let me see. Nope, it was 2016. All 4 Gibbs cars won races, multiple races, I should mention.
Can I just take a side note and comment once again on how horrible NASCAR.com's website is?
Yes.
There's so much crap popping up on this page. I had to close out 2 autoplay videos that were playing at the same time, and then a menu bar that came down from the top and an ad in the center of the page.
That's fantastic.
Come on, guys. Get your crap together. So
the
link's in the show notes.
Racing Reference is the way to go.
There you go. Well, the link to this article is in the show notes. That's why I went to NASCAR.com. I was trying to find the article.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a debate question, and it's worthy of a debate. So
yeah, and so just to answer your question simply, I think they are one of maybe the top 10 teams of all time. That's probably too easy to say. Probably even
top 10 is too easy to say.
Top 10 is probably way too easy. Maybe inching closer to top 5 all time.
God, why do we got to agree on everything?
The numbers don't lie in this stuff.
And I'll tell you what, and maybe we don't want to go all time, but most successful seasons for a team of all time. This is probably top 3 of best, all around team seasons. It's been spectacular. Now, and this article points it out, it's early, yet we still have 5 races to go. Yeah. We don't know what's going to happen with the championship. These guys could all just nosedive in the end. None of them wins. Yep. I mean, without a championship for Stewart Haas, they aren't. You know what I mean? They're still. It's still an epic season, but it's not one of the best seasons in NASCAR history if they don't win a championship.
Close. They got to close.
Yep. So maybe we're having a conversation too early.
Well, and the rightful one to do it's Harvick. I mean,
I'm with you.
Any of these guys can win the championship, but if Harvick caps off this incredible run he's on, it would be one of the all-time great seasons individually by a team. But 2, he's the lead dog on this team.
Yeah, Harvick is Stewart Haas.
Yeah, right now, he's the banner carrier for sure.
Kurt's on his way out. I feel like Clint's just a stopgap to me. He just has always seemed like a stopgap to me. And then
he's solid.
Then Almirola's just let's get somebody else in the 10 car, and holy crap, he's good.
Yeah,
good. So I mean, Harvick is the guy, and yes, I think anything short of a Harvick championship is a disappointment this year for Stewart Haas. But
just to give you a quick snapshot of that, Kevin Harvick has 20 top 5s and 25 top 10s, and no other Stewart Haas driver has more than 9 top 10 or top 5s.
Right.
He's just, his consistency, it's beyond consistent. It's like mountaintop consistency. It's incredible.
So since we both agreed on the debate, and it makes it not much of a debate, is there, none of these other guys are going to win the championship over Harvick, right? Harvick's going to be the
Stewart
guy.
Haas or
Stewart Haas. Yeah. If Stewart Haas wins a championship, it's going to be Harvick.
It's got to be
Harvick.
If they get 4 cars into the round of 8, I don't know what happens from there.
What if they get 4 cars into the round of 4?
That would be so
Can
phenomenal.
you imagine? That would be the best all-time season.
Well,
ever.
Harvick has the points. Okay, so there's a roadmap for this. Harvick has the points advantage. He doesn't necessarily need to win any races.
Right.
But if Almirola, Boyer, and Busch all win to get into Homestead,
Never. It would never happen.
never happen. But that's a one way that you could do it.
Can you imagine?
man.
NASCAR would change the rules, man.
Tony Stewart would have an ownership trophy presentation and in a week before, just like the old days when Earnhardt was celebrating titles, weeks
Man.
before.
I'd almost like to see it happen just to see how crazy it would be, but there's no way it'll happen.
Yeah, I don't know what they would do.
You're not getting a Final Four without Kyle Busch in there, at least.
No, Bush is in and Harvick is in. Those
Yeah.
two guys are just too good. They're
Yep.
just too good. And then from there, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I thought Keselowski was leaning into being a lock, and I mean, he's not going to make it to the round of 8. So
I'm still pretty comfortable with my championship 4, which was Kyle
I
Busch.
had Larson in my 4, and that's not happening.
I have Kyle Busch, Harvick, Keselowski, and Elliott. And if Keselowski can pull it off this weekend,
yeah, you're
it could
sitting
still
pretty.
happen.
Yeah, you're sitting pretty because Elliott could win Martinsville any day.
I think Chase is in that Final Four.
Yeah.
And I like I said, Kyle Busch is a given. Kyle Busch and Harvick are givens in the Final Four. There's no way those two don't make it in there.
Sure. Yep.
So,
Yeah, I just they are one of the great teams of all time. I don't know if you'd put them ahead of the Wood brothers or Petty, but definitely for modern times. I mean, they're better than Chip Ganassi.
oh yeah.
13 years in the sport, 1,125 starts, and they only have 11 wins. 4 of them were last year.
Are they the best team right now?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's crazy because not that long ago we were thinking the same thing for Joe Gibbs.
Yeah, exactly. That is true. Yeah, and I mean Gibbs is still there, but they're not at Stewart-Haas level right now.
Yep.
Who knows what
Gibbs-
next year brings?
Yeah, and I don't think Gibbs has the roster either. With Suarez, we don't really know what he is anymore. With him out the door. Jones, I mean, they've probably got the best prospect. They've got Eric Jones.
Right.
But he, maybe in a few years he could be Kyle Busch, but he's not there yet. And then Hamlin's he's having just a weird year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Denny Hamlin's been really good for a long time though.
I mean, with this new rule package we're going to get next year,
It's gonna be different again.
who knows? I mean, Roush could be the.
Yeah, maybe Richard
Roush could be the
Childress
big
has
guy.
a resurgence.
Yeah.
Who's to say? We
knows?
really don't know. I think we'll have the same customers up there, but
Yeah, I think so too.
yeah.
It might shuffle a little bit. Stewart-Haas might not have the dominance they've had this year. That likely will change anyway because unless you're Jimmy Johnson, that just doesn't continue.
This is maybe an easier question than I'm posing it to be, but Stewart-Haas Racing, would you take their 10 years over the 31 of Jack Roush?
Yeah.
So Jack Roush has 2 championships in 31 years, 137 wins. And they've been, like I said, they've been around quite a bit longer than Stewart-Haas.
Yeah, I'd still take two stakes. I don't know. It all depends, I guess, James. There's so many variables because if we're talking
Xfinity series as well.
Well, if we're talking about it's hard because Roush is on their way down, and I would imagine they're going to eventually circle back, hopefully. But it's hard. I mean, Stewart-Haas has so much more potential right now too, so you have to consider that.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, if you just say both teams end this year, this is it, and you can choose one of these, then of course I'd go Roush because they've had more success in the long run.
But Stewart-Haas has had equal amounts of success in a shorter period of time.
Right.
So you got that. I mean, that's just a nugget of an argument, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
But interesting. Yeah, that was a good question. I'm really glad you put that in there because that made me think.
Yeah.
It's weird because all these teams are on different trajectories, but right now they are the powerhouse.
They are for sure. So let's throw another question out there. This one is one we haven't done in a couple weeks. It's called "Do We Care?"
Oh, bringing it back.
Bringing it back this week.
It is Thursday, so Throwback Thursday.
One of these days I'm going to have a soundbite for "Do We Care?" but I don't have one right now. So "Do We Care?" Dale Jr.'s book came out. I think it came out Tuesday, if I remember correctly. It's called Racing to the Finish, co-authored with Ryan McGee, James's buddy. And I mean, do we care about Junior's book very much?
I think we should. You and I were texting about it earlier this week, and I openly admitted via text I just don't have time to read it right now. But that doesn't mean it's not important and that I don't care.
That's me too. I think it's really neat. I listened to part of Junior's podcast this week. I haven't gotten through it yet.
Yeah, me too. I got to get to it.
So I just feel like it's another one of those driver books that I'm never going to get to.
Yep.
And so, like, I think it's going to be really interesting. I think Junior's insight on things is great. And, I mean, Ryan McGee's awesome. So it's probably a really great book. And I think if I ever sat down to get into it, I would probably, like, read right through it. But I just...
Yeah, me too.
I don't know. I bought Jeff Gordon's book. I've read, like, a paragraph of that. I bought... The only NASCAR driver book that I can think of that I actually read all the way through, which I loved it, by the way, was Darrell Waltrip's book.
Oh, yeah.
Waltrip's book was great. And the only reason I bought it, I was debating buying it. I was at Barnes & Noble, and I picked it up, was flipping through it, and it was an autographed copy.
You told me about
autographed copy. So I bought it
Yep.
and read it. And that was back in the old days when we read paper books and we didn't read them digitally.
Yep.
And it was a good book because Darrell's a storyteller, and so probably half of it was, made up anyway.
I've got Ernie Irvan downstairs.
Okay.
The titled No Fear.
Nice.
And that's a really good read. Especially there's a chapter in Ernie Irvan's book about the Michigan crash.
Okay.
And it goes into third person details.
Wow.
Like talking to his wife, talking to Larry McReynolds, who was on the scene. That is a very good book. I should let you borrow that one of these days.
Yeah, I should borrow it just to read that section.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book.
Don't let me borrow the book. I'm so horrible at returning books.
I know.
And I couldn't borrow that book from you, man. I know.
Yeah.
That one actually means
well,
something.
And I did read a synopsis today. Bob Pockris and Ricky Craven did a synopsis of Dale Jr.'s book, just things that stood out to them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some pretty good revelations in there. A lot of it is really about Dale Jr.'s personal struggle with concussions.
Right.
And getting out of the car, and how he almost, one of the revelations in the book is how he almost quit in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Right, when he was starting to have some issues. And
you and I speculated that might actually happen when, of course, we didn't have a podcast back then. I think we were talking on the way to Eldora, but
we thought he was done, because that crash at Michigan that kind of jumbled some things up for him again. But I'm also, you mentioned it, but I'm also very intrigued that Ryan McGee is staying involved as much as he has and writing this book. I think it's just a win-win to keep guys like him around.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great deal too. But I wish I had more time to read it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're just busy people. But
definitely
at some point maybe.
Yeah, maybe an off-season read or something. I don't know. My life never slows down, so it's tough.
I know.
But yeah, it is definitely something. I even thought maybe, I don't think there's an audiobook version of it yet, but if they do an audiobook version, especially if Junior's reading it,
that would be cool.
Or even if McGee's reading it, I would totally be down with that. I would probably get that and listen to it in the car because I'm sure it's gonna be good. So, and I'll listen to Junior's podcast all day long.
Yep.
So
and this book is important because of Dale Jr. documenting his struggles with concussions.
And he legit documented his struggles. Like he had his notes app in his iPhone and he would take notes daily, and a lot of that is in this book.
Yeah, and that's bigger than NASCAR.
Yeah,
the concussion thing. I think people. Yeah, I think Dale Jr. is going to be kind of a leader, not only for NASCAR and auto racing head injuries, but in football too. Well documented injuries in football with head injuries, but Dale Jr. is kind of leading the way on some of this discussion, and that's a very important thing right there. So
yeah, definitely. Okay. Anything else to talk about with the book?
No, I just, like I said, wish I could read it right now.
I know, I hear you.
Maybe this offseason. Maybe we'll each make it a homework assignment.
There you go. Yeah, I'm
we'll
terrible with homework assignments.
Yeah,
Sorry,
me
I'm
too.
trying to post a link here that has nothing to do with what I'm doing right now. So.
Oh, okay. Multitasking. That's all right.
So this weekend is the Hollywood Casino 400 at Kansas Speedway. And Kansas it's had a history lately of being a little crazy. We've had I listened to Larry McNuggets on NASCAR radio. I think it was Monday night, I don't know what night it was. Tuesday night, I think it was. Larry McNuggets. He talked about some of the stats, and Larry's great. I'll tell you what, man. There's a guy that he may not sound the smartest, but that dude is smart. Mm-hmm. And he had compiled a bunch of stats about this race. The last 3 races at Kansas have had a red flag during them.
Wow.
Yeah. And I believe the last 3 races there, or the last 5 races there, have been won by our big 3 drivers. So
because Truex has been really dominant lately.
Yep. Truex won Truex won this year in the spring, and then
He's got
Harvick
two.
won
Yep.
last year, I think. Who swept? Somebody else swept both of them last year. I don't know. Anyway, it's looking like it's probably going to be one of those guys, but
Yeah.
it could be a wild race. Who knows what's going to happen?
Harvick won this year in the spring. Truex won last year, swept. And then before that, Harvick won the last fall race before the Truex sweep.
Okay, there you go.
And then Kyle Busch won the spring race.
There you go. There you go.
So there you go. There's your big three covered up right there.
Yeah, I got to pull up the old average finishes here and look and see what I'm going to pick. I don't want to pick one of the big three, but I feel like I should pick one of the big three because
Yeah, I feel like they're open season at this point.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to be the ones that are going to do it. I'm going to go, you know what? I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to go against everything I said. Let me look at the average finishes and see if this backs it up. Nah, it doesn't. But
Kevin Harvick, just before you make your pick,
Yeah.
I mean, he's a gangbuster here, but Martin Truex Jr. is just on a hot streak.
yeah, see,
Overall, Harvick really stands out. 25 career races and a 9.6 average finish. But Truex has been the hot hand here.
Yeah, I got to go Truex because, like I said, it goes against everything. I don't think he's going to make it. I don't think he's going to make it to the round of 4. I wouldn't be surprised to see him make it to the round of 8, though. So I'm going Truex.
So far, you have been correct so far that you said he wasn't winning any more races this year.
Yeah, I know. And this goes against everything.
He technically had the Roval.
That is true.
But he didn't win.
Yep.
So you are correct. Well, if you're going Truex, I'm going to try to keep pace. I'm going to go Harvick.
Yeah, that's
Harvick really doesn't have
pick.
anything. The only thing that worries me is Harvick really doesn't have anything to race for. He's just got to stay out of catastrophic.
Yeah, Harvick's not the type of guy that's going to go points his way around. He's going to race. If he doesn't have anything to race for, that gives him more of a reason to race.
Yeah, he's going to go hard, I think. So yeah, I'll take Harvick.
All right, dark horse. Let's see. You get first dark horse.
Whew. Man. Alex Bowman sticks out a little bit. Nah.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to pick him. Hold on. Hang in there with me. I don't know. I don't know who I'm going to pick. I never know what to do with the dark horse. I'm going to go way out there, kind of. I'll say William Byron. He had a really bad outing his first time around, and I think he'll improve.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yep.
I am going to go with somebody who just could use to turn their season around. I'm going to go Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Not really any reason in particular.
Yep. That's fine.
So there we go. Yeah, I think we made it through everything, didn't we?
Well, one thing we didn't talk about really quickly.
All right, here we go. Now it's going to be an hour-long podcast.
No, it won't be an hour-long podcast. We should make note that I took a little bit of joy seeing the 10-car win a race.
Yeah.
Without Danica Patrick.
Yeah.
Is that bad? Is that like bad of me to feel that way?
No, I don't think so. They're still running that commercial with her that's like, I don't only think about racing. It's like, Danica, guess what, man? You're not racing anymore. You're not thinking about racing at all, and I don't know how much you did when you were racing.
About anything but Aaron Rodgers months.
Yeah. I can say that I cheered against the Packers when they were playing the Bears a little bit more after they showed her.
Oh, I make me want to find it. I'm so glad.
It's not Danica. It's not. I don't
like Aaron Rodgers, and I don't like Danica. But however, this being said, I thought if Danica ruins him, like she could have, I guess, I would be her number one fan.
That's true. Yeah, I'm with you.
And
and don't get me wrong, for anybody who wants to start screaming at me right now, if you're listening to this, I hate Aaron Rodgers in the same way that I hate Sidney Crosby, in that they are so good and they don't play for the teams that I cheer for. That's why I hate them. It's not.
You're a Bears, right? And you're a Bears fan, and I'm a Lions fan, and we share a division with this a-hole, and he kicks our butt every year. So now that the Lions have kind of beaten him a couple of times here recently, I'm not trying not to get on my high horse, but I really enjoy those victories.
Yeah. It makes me cry when the Lions beat the Packers and the Bears lose to them. So,
Well, we're going to be head to head here pretty soon, so don't worry.
There we go.
Yeah.
And the Lions will beat the Bears because the Bears are just the Bears. Like, they're the only team that's like, hey, the Lions are terrible, but we can beat them by being worse.
Look, if the Lions can beat Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady in the same season, we should be able to handle Mitchell Trubisky.
You'd think so.
I'm just saying. Yeah. But that's the Lions. They would lose that game instead.
That is true. It's funny because I left the Lions to be a Bears fan, and they're the same team.
They really are.
Exact same team, same ownership group. Only difference is that when the Bears won their championship, it was a Super Bowl. And when the Lions won theirs, there wasn't a Super Bowl yet. So
yeah, Lions have done a little bit more suffering.
Yeah.
Than the Bears fans, but yeah, they are the same team right now.
Yeah, I mean the Lions don't have a dance that was recorded, like.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do have a shout out this week. I want to throw it out there real quick. We've shouted him out before, but I'm doing it again. Nate Ryan, NBC or NASCAR and NBC podcast. He talked to Haley Deegan this week, or last week. I don't know when it was, but
it was last week because he has another good one this week.
Who's he got this week?
Oh, it's a guy who used to be in communications with NASCAR. Hold on.
Okay. See, I don't listen.
Let's go to his podcast.
I don't listen to Nate Ryan's podcast very much, and I wish I did because, it's a lot of times when I'm looking for a podcast for NASCAR, I'm looking for a recap of the week. I'm not looking for just something. Nate's is really good for me when it's like, Monday and all the podcasts come out Tuesday and I need something to listen to. And nobody's talking about the race yet other than Jeff Gluck. So I'll pop Nate on and listen to him. Or if it's a race weekend and the race has already started, I'll listen to him. So
highly intelligent podcast, man. He's just really good. I
am a gigantic Haley Deegan fan. I hope.
Yeah, hers was good.
I hope she gets through. I mean, she sounded a little less mature there than when I saw her at Eldora.
I mean, she's a kid.
Right.
She's a kid.
But I really want to see her. I want to see her make it, man.
Yeah, hit the last podcast this week, episode 162, Ramsey Poston.
Okay.
And he, at one time, was the director of communications for NASCAR from 2004 through 2011.
Dang, I'm gonna have
and
to
he
listen.
talk about safety in NASCAR. They go over like Dale Earnhardt's death and all this stuff. It's really good. It's just really good.
Cool. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, check out the NASCAR and NBC podcast with Nate Ryan.
If you're listening, excellent. Yeah, if you're listening to this podcast, you best be listening to that podcast.
Yeah, it is one of the quality podcasts. Again, they don't do race recaps or anything like that. It's just usually an interview with somebody, and it is one of the best NASCAR podcasts you can find.
It is, yep.
So, all right, James, on that note, where can they find you on social media during the week?
At James Cush on Twitter.
You can find me at TSuperspeedway on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/thesuperspeedway. You can find the podcast and more at our website, thesuperspeedway.com. Like I said, the podcast is there. We've got show notes there, links to some of the articles we've discussed, past podcasts, some stories we wrote from races we've been to, et cetera, et cetera. So check that out, thesuperspeedway.com. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud. And if you like what you hear and you want to become a part of the show or have a little piece of it to yourself, become a patron at patreon.com/thesuperspeedway. I think that's it, James. We might have set a new record for... Nah, I don't think so. We're like 45 minutes, I think.
It's pretty dang close, though.
It's pretty good. So let's get out of here before we ruin that. So Kansas this weekend. Hopefully a little bit better race than last weekend. And until then, everybody, let's go racing.